information economy is being completely shaken up, right? Like the authority signals of the old world are gone, at least in answer engine optimization and AEO. The beautiful thing about AEO is that once you create a piece of content, the actual time till it gets indexed is like 2 to 3 days on average, up to a week maybe on the long end. But you'll start to see the most insignificant results within a day or two.
And what exactly Profound does when it comes to these AEO?
What would take an SEO multiple months, if not years, multiple quarters, is now doable in AEO in a matter of weeks, which is truly inspiring. So for GEO, I think the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind is that we're not optimizing for keywords. We're really optimizing for intents. It's about intent.
Welcome to the Agency Insider Show, where we unpack strategies that drive growth for agencies and marketers. I'm your host, Navneet Kaushal, and today I'm joined by John Blyskal, AEO engineer at Profound, where he's leading researching into AI native search engine optimization. Yes, that is a thing. Josh has been speaking at events like Brighton SEO, sharing fresh insights from dataset analyzing millions of AI search results. We're going to talk about it and helping brands adapt to platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and AI overviews. Today, we'll dive into how answer engine works, what actually drives visibility, and how agencies can prepare for this new era of search. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Navneet. Always happy to be here.
Yeah, Josh. So can you please share your background? I know you started your career as a legislative intern.
Yeah, I started out working in the legislative office over for the Speaker of the House of Illinois. That's a little fun fact. Definitely a deep cut. I really started my marketing career at HubSpot on the SEO team. So I started out on the SEO team over at HubSpot. Did a ton of content SEO work, but eventually moved over to co-found HubSpot's AI marketing solutions team with another colleague of mine, building AI-enabled tools for marketers to send emails, to enrich contact information. Eventually, that like experience led me to being, I guess, selected to help build HubSpot's AI search grader. So I was kind of the prototype engineer. I basically built the actual structure that it uses, and that got me close to AI search and understanding kind of how those worlds collide. Once I saw Profound here building an incredible solution to this problem, I had to jump in and join. It's been an incredible journey ever since. I was the second employee over there, and now I'm the AI strategist. So I'm kind of the subject matter expertise on AI search, at least internally at Profound. It's an exciting time, certainly in AI search.
So what exactly does an AI engineer do day to day at Profound?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, from the day-to-day perspective, I think there's a few different pillars of what I spend my time thinking about. First of all, we've got some of the most incredible brands in the world working with us, really iconic brands. Indeed, US Bank, we work with Ramp, we work with 8 Sleep, we work with a ton of incredible companies that are doing the best in class work across industries. And so these companies, these incredible companies, need the best in class strategies and to understand the shapings up of AI search, where it's been, and really more importantly, where it's going. So in that respect, I'm a strategist. I am the weatherman. I'm telling you, all right, here's where the future is. Here's what's going on. Here's what you can expect in 6 months. Beyond that, I'm doing the research. We're pushing the field forward. We're really the thought leaders in the space as well. Profound really was the first company to do AI search optimization seriously as a real, mass volume, huge analysis, big data kind of approach. And I think, that shows in the research we've done and the things we've done to really push the field forward. And that's a really important piece of the work of an AI strategist, is really to think about, how can I help marketers of the world understand how to make the most out of the space.
So when you talk about that Profound works on AI optimization, what exactly would you mean and what all does it encompass?
Yeah, I mean, more and more today, people are going to answer engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI Overviews, Google AI Mode to find the products and services and the things they want to buy, right?
Right.
These answer engines are growing massively, and where brands normally had a direct relationship with consumers through the website and through the e-commerce flows, agents and AI now stand as the arbiters in the middle of that relationship, basically allowing the user to avoid going to the marketplace entirely. They send the AI agent to go to the marketplace and find the products and find the brands that the user wants in the end without ever having to step foot. And, frankly, if I'm the user, who cares where the information came from, as long as it's personalized to me, it's high quality, and it's informational. And so the whole information landscape is really transforming towards this world of trying to market to and advertise to and contextualize our brand's relevance to these engines, to these answer agents, to these AI tools, which are ultimately making much of the decisions of consumer buyer journeys. At the scale of millions, if not billions, of queries every single month.
Okay. So that still leaves my question open. What exactly Profound does when it comes to these AEO?
Yeah, we have the platform basically that allows marketers to understand, take action on, and tangibly improve their visibility in the engine. So what we spend our time doing is we literally query these answer engines hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times every single day, basically interrogating them, asking them every variation of every possible question about a client or company, and really looking and seeing what brands are showing up and what citations are actually influencing that answer. Beyond that, we have the best-in-class database. We have the only database in the world of actual ChatGPT user prompts. We also have prompts across Claude, Gemini, a few other models in a bunch of different regions.
Okay.
So not only are we able to see, okay, here are the brands that are showing up, because if you're, I don't know, if you're Nike, we could tell you, Nike, you're showing up 50% of the time for running shoes, and Adidas is actually beating you. And the reason why is because of these 3 Forbes articles, which don't mention Nike. And those 3 Forbes articles are ChatGPT's top 3 sources for all things running shoes. That's an incredible thing to highlight immediately and say, hey, we can understand the model behavior. These are the gaps. This is what you do. You should create this piece of content, or you should reach out to Forbes, for instance.
Right.
If you're thinking like, all right, well, what do we track? Well, we have obviously with the prompt volume, we have that. We can also look and see the specific technical architecture of your website and how agents are actually pathing through it. So we have this tool called agent analytics or website analytics, which basically allows you to see which pages are indexed, how the answer engines are actually visiting your pages, and we can even track referral traffic to specific pages, so you can see which pages are actually driving the most human clicks from ChatGPT onto your specific website, which is incredible. Yeah, it's a full suite. We just launched workflows, which is obviously exciting. So you can now take your AEO data and turn it into real, tangible content to create as well.
Looks like your hands are full.
My hands are very full. It's great.
Yeah, and excited, right? Yes. So now on excitement, what excites you most about this new space compared to the classic SEO?
Here's the deal, Navneet. I think the information economy is being completely shaken up, right? Like the authority signals of the old world are gone, at least in answer engine optimization and AEO. So we're dealing with a world where ChatGPT, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Grok, Meta AI, all of these tools, they don't have insight into Google's keyword ranking. They don't understand what keywords a page ranks for. They don't understand how many backlinks a page has. All of these tools are basically building their own informational landscapes, their own structures of influence. And so where we normally used to just rely on the Google index as the single source of truth for all things search, now we have parallels, and now brands have opportunities, just like, social back in the 2010s, brands have opportunities to leapfrog the competition by thinking differently about this new channel. So I've seen incumbents. The most exciting part is when you see an incumbent get beaten by a competitor that works with you. So one of our customers is like 10 times smaller than one of the biggest incumbents right now in like the shipping and freight industry. They've been working on AEO, and they've been beating a pretty big incumbent in that space very handedly. I can't share any more because obviously for privacy reasons, but it's incredibly interesting to see how these answer engines are, if you can architect content correctly and you can really build out a solution that answers the questions that users are posing, you can easily win in a way that you would just not be able to win in traditional search, and customers will find you much more easily because of it. That's exciting.
So when you talk about this flight a customer, how much average time does it took or take for somebody to beat? So somebody starts working on an LMM AEO optimization. How much time normally?
Well, the beautiful thing about AEO is that once you create a piece of content, the actual time till it gets indexed is like 2 to 3 days on average, up to a week maybe on the long end. But you'll start to see you'll see the most insignificant results within a day or two to see, okay, here's the piece of content. Is it immediately getting picked up by a few models? Typically, models will start seeing it very quickly, and then you'll immediately notice your citation share will go up and your visibility will go up through that week, and you'll start to see results in a few weeks. To really transform visibility, I think it takes 2 to 3 months, honestly, to be very honest, if you're working on it, as a primary area of your business. But that's what would take an SEO multiple months, if not years, multiple quarters, is now
Yes.
doable in AEO in
Yeah.
a matter of weeks, which is truly inspiring.
Yeah, that's what I was coming to, because when SEO client will come and we'd say it's gonna take you 6+ months, and now it's like 6+ weeks
Right.
down the
Yes,
line.
absolutely.
Okay, now, yeah. So let's talk more about the rise of AI native search. In one of your earlier interviews, you called AI native visibility the movement. So
Yes.
why now?
Oh my goodness. I mean, the reason why AI native visibility is so important is because this is the open market right now. This is blue ocean. This is like I said, it's like social in 2010. This is an opportunity for companies who have been strongly competing with a few key incumbents, are just
Mhm.
entering the market, or just trying to be defensive to establish their presence in the world's fastest growing channel with the world's fastest growing user group. For almost every website in the world, the fastest growing user group for almost every website is AI agents. AI agents are hitting websites in the scale of thousands, to the point where, like, if you've seen the news, Cloudflare now has the new like bot blocking feature that
Yes.
supposedly
Right.
stops all these bots, right? That's happening as a consequence of the larger shifts in the space, right? So this is an opportunity space. I think there's a lot of SEOs who are very concerned about it, or really don't buy into it. I think what you really have to do is you have to see it for what it is. This channel is incredibly high intent. This is where people are having their user journeys. Is it as high volume as Google? No. I think, will search move conversationally? Yes. Like, we know with Google AI mode that Google has capitulated. Google has admitted that the future of search is not 10 blue links. We're not going to,
Right.
like, if you picture search in 5 years, do you picture more 10 blue links, or do you picture a chat box? I picture a chat box.
Right.
I don't
Same here.
think I don't think we're going to go to a world where it's like, oh, let's go backwards. We have ChatGPT. Let's actually devolve that. We're going to evolve search, and every industry in the world is trying AI. Search is one of the places where AI stuck. This is going to be an AI influenced industry. Search will use AI significantly. I don't think it's that much hype, honestly.
Right. Right. Now, what does generative search intent you mentioned? What does generative search intent look like compared to keyword based search?
Yeah, I mean, things like query regularization is a huge deal. I'll even give you this one. Like, this is massive. So keyword-based search, you're trying to optimize for every variation of every keyword. I mean, I worked over at HubSpot's SEO team. I know, we had tens of thousands of keywords we were thinking about at any given time. Within generative search, the actual words matter so much less. What actually matters is the intent. So if I'm asking for, let's say this, I go to ChatGPT and I say, my name is Josh, I'm 24, I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I used to love running, and I really want to get back into running, and I want to start by running 5 miles, and I love running outside, but I hate running when it's rainy, and I want to run with my wife. What's the best running shoes for me? ChatGPT is going to take that query, and it's going to flatten that query into best men's running shoes 2025, and then it's going to send that off to SERP API or the Bing API or Google, whatever it's using as its search. By the way, new breaking story is that OpenAI apparently is using SERP API as their search provider, which is very interesting. We could talk more about that a little bit later, but OpenAI will send that search off to its search ecosystem. And so basically that 7-paragraph query that you asked has been flattened into best men's running shoes 2025. When you go to your Google engine, and you say like, what are the best men's running shoes? Give me top 10 best men's running shoes, most recommended running shoes. All of those are slightly different, obviously within the same topic cluster. When we look at in ChatGPT, you have to wonder what other 7-paragraph queries. So say, my sister says, okay, now I'm 26 and I live in Brooklyn and I want to run and I don't like running. What are the best women's running shoes? And then my mom says, what are the best, like 7 paragraphs, what are the best men's running shoes? Are they being flattened into the same kind of intent, or are they truly distinct? They're being flattened. And so for GEO, I think the biggest thing to kind of keep in mind is that we're not optimizing for keywords. We're really optimizing for intents. It's about intent. What is the core searcher intent? The core searcher intent in any of those cases is to get running shoes, men's running shoes, women's running shoes. That's the idea. That's the result. And that's what brands should be optimizing for, not for this ridiculous long tail 24, Brooklyn, boom, 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 all these different questions. Because at the end of the day, if you win on the running shoes, you will win on you'll win on each of the specific searches. If you win on running shoes 2025, you'll win for anyone generally who's asking about those things, and that search gets flattened down. Now, if you ask this, best running shoes for kids 2025, that's very different. Best running shoes 2025 for marathons is also different intents. So there are limits to these things, but it's actually a lot more human than I think keyword search used to be.
So, but doesn't most of it involves fan out queries?
Yes, fan out queries are so important. So, I mean, really optimizing for the fan out is also obviously, so you have your root prompt. At the end of the day, the beautiful thing is when you have that root prompt, you're going to have that fan out of queries. Using that root prompt, you get the result from whatever that fan out ends up being. I actually think tracking the fan out is almost kind of it's hard and it's easy, but it's at the same time, I don't know if it's going to be productive for marketers. Here's the reason why. So if that fan out algorithm changes, and if Google starts to do fan out in different ways, or if each of the different fan out processes are slightly different, what you end up seeing is you'll try to be reverse engineering this process basically by, it's almost like particle physics. It'll always be changing. It's almost better to start with the root query of like, what are the best men's running shoes in 2025, and letting the fan out do its thing, but then just optimizing for that like base level query as a whole, and knowing that the fan out's going to do what it will, but we're always going to try to have content and pages and information where people are at, where the searchers are at.
So because now I see lot of people going into fan out queries, somebody saying, okay, if there are 5 fan out queries, you should try to optimize a rank for all 5. And as you said, it's actually like particle physics.
Yes.
It's always a moving object.
Yes, it's always a moving object. Exactly.
Right. Now, do you think answers engine will replace traditional SERP? We know the chatbots will, or will they exist alongside them?
I think answer engines will exist alongside them, especially for the short to medium term. I think eventually it's actually going to kind of be inverse what we're seeing with Google AI mode. I think the standard experience will be the conversation bot. And if you really need to see the SERP, if you really need to see the 10 links, you can click into it to kind of show the work. But I think there's always going to be people who want to see the granular SERP, who want to see the granular piece. At least, with anything that's as used as Google is, changing any given feature is like steering a massive ship. It all happens very slowly. And I think the pace that we've seen with AI, at least with AI and AI mode and AI overviews, tells us that it is top priority for Google. I mean, they've moved much faster on this than they've moved on most anything else in their search product in the last few years. So, I mean, my perspective is they'll share a space for at least a while. And beyond that, who knows? Maybe there'll be something even better than answer engines by the time in the next 5 years.
Right. Now, how should marketers measure ROI from AI-driven traffic?
Yeah, here's the big question. It's like it's referral traffic, but it's also not referral traffic. I think we're in a zero-click era, so it's like referral traffic is dying, but is that the point of being zero-click? Like, is that okay if we're in a zero-click world? Is influence and visibility now the ROI? Does search become more of a brand channel? And does e-commerce get even more important? Maybe. I think in the short term, referral traffic is your best bet. Citation share and referral traffic are often very well correlated, because if you literally have more opportunities to be cited and appear as like a website in the answer, you're going to have more click-through and more opportunities for people to click onto your website. And when we're talking about citations, you know what I'm talking about. It's literally like the little chiclets or the inline links that ChatGPT leaves to your content. You'll see more referrals. But I do think that we do need to restructure the incentives of the web a little bit, because if traffic is not the incentive, then I think web creators and answer engines and AI model providers need to figure out a structure that benefits everybody, and gives rewards to creators and makes it worthwhile to create content, besides just this kind of race to the bottom of information where, web creators and, AI models are kind of fighting each other to kind of distill information into its cheapest, most accessible form. Right now, my perspective is, we need to figure out how to attribute who owns what content and give rewards to folks. I think if we're thinking about, how to measure ROI in that world, I think there should be a unified protocol. But right now, referral traffic is probably the best overall, and I think marketers probably should start thinking about adapting even from referral traffic into something else in the long term.
Right. Let's go a little more deep into AI, and let's talk about tactical AI SEO strategies. Now, my first question is, what role does a schema markup play in getting cited by AI systems?
Well, we know schema helps with digestibility of content. So at a high level, we know that structured content is important in AI systems overall. Like basically, that could be anything from having HTML tables to having bulleted lists, all the way, like you said, to having HTML schema, or obviously schema.org schema, JSON LD. You call it what you will. It's kind of all the same thing. We know FAQ schema is probably the most important. The answer engines themselves are looking to find answers. So when someone asks, what's the best men's running shoes? If you're a listicle piece of content on like runnersworld.com, which is like 9 best running shoes, it is now very valuable and valid to have an FAQ that is literally answering the point of the question directly in the FAQ. What are the best men's running shoes? And distill it. We've also seen really, really helpful right now how-to schema. To some extent, author schema is also helpful, but product schema is also extremely valuable, especially for ChatGPT shopping. Another tactic is just including the answer to the piece directly in the intro paragraph. So if it's what are the best men's running shoes, for instance, and I write a listicle about that, my first sentence in the listicle may well be the best men's running shoes are X, Y, Z, A, B, Alpha, Bravo, Z, like directly laying it out. And then this piece will dive into exactly why this is the case, so on and so forth, to provide the answer directly. Yeah, that's helped massively.
Okay, but it's not that you need to put your structured schema on the page, and if the page is not structured schema on it, it won't rank. So it's not the holy grail of the rank.
It's important, but it's not the holy grail of the ranking. I think that's true.
Okay. Now, you talked about semantic chunking. So can you explain what exactly is it and how that helps in AI visibility?
So semantic chunking is the way that answer engines pull information from a page. So if I'm an answer engine and I'm visiting your website, I am going to grab information off of that website in 80 to 100 character chunks of information. I am not going to parse through your meandering paragraphs. I'm not going to look through super long pieces of content or context, especially if I need a quick answer. So a good example of like a bad example is something like this. What's the average rent in San Francisco? And then your semantic chunk would look like, well, in San Francisco, there are many neighborhoods, and the different neighborhoods have different rents. And let's dive in and talk about each of the things. So first and foremost, before I get into it, the first place would be, in Menlo Park, this and this, and like in Silicon Valley, here's the rent. Okay, in Oakland, the rents could be something like this and this and that. And let's talk a little more about that. Like the best way to do that is just like the average rent in San Francisco is $3,748. Average rent for 1 bedroom is $4,300. Average rent for 2 bedroom is $4,800. Whatever, so on and so forth. Literally answering the question in a chunk, and doing that in literal bullet points helps as well. Making the piece specifically identifiable in the HTML and grabbable by the answer engine. You really want the answer engine to be able to kind of like a claw, just come down, grab the answer and pull it up very neatly and cleanly. You don't want to have a bunch of material and stuff sticking to it as it tries to get it out. And the answer engine's not going to summarize your paragraph either. So if that answer doesn't exist in like a cohesive statement, the answer engine's not going to do the work of trying to piece all those different pieces together. It really needs the ability to identify that key answer.
So does it help that if I have, I mean, eventually, for example, when we still do SEO, we look up the number of paragraphs, H1, H2. So will it matter? Okay, the answer which is coming in ChatGPT has 10 chunks and I have 5 chunks. Should I make it 10 chunks? So is that a thing, or I'm thinking?
It matters whether or not they are chunks. It's almost like, all right, 90% of the content is in like a chunked format, or maybe 10% of the content is in a chunked format. That's what's more important. I think the number of chunks is okay. I think the more specific your pages are, the better you'll do typically. Right now, the answer engines are really pushing towards highly specified pages. So pages with super specific URL slugs and super specific focuses. Best men's running shoes for marathon runners with shin splints or with flat feet. That would be like a very hyper specific piece of content that would rank very well in answer engine search if you wanted to win that specific use case. Just overall, like if Nike woke up tomorrow and said we want to win that, all they would have to do is create that piece of content somewhere on the web and position Nike quite well. At least this is the short term of AI search, and they would do quite well. And that's because the answer engines are programmed to find listicle and comparative content. I think in the long run, we really start to have to think of, there's a real importance to social media, to things like Reddit, to joining legitimate conversations. But at least right now in answer engine search, as with any SEO strategy, every year there's a new SEO strategy that's in vogue, the new exciting one. Everyone wants to do it. Listicles are definitely the new exciting one for AI search.
Right. Yeah. So it's not that we are coming to a point where we start recommending to our client every FAQ should have a separate page.
No, I don't think that's the case. I think in the short term, it's proving to be very interesting, but I think it's only a matter of time. I think just as people start to figure that out and do it at scale, the answer engines will of course change what they're waiting towards. Things will move outside of those things. That's the way it is with all these strategies, that they get so much adoption and then the rules change.
Yes. Now let's talk about your study which you presented in Brighton SEO, and what exactly the study was when you were trying to analyze millions of AI search results, and what exactly did you find doing that?
Yeah, we analyzed 40 million AI search completions. We found a few different things. First of all, we found that at least as of like April, ChatGPT was entirely using Bing as their search provider. 100% it was just based on the Bing API. And we knew that, we factually confirmed it. That was a huge moment for us. That was a big win because there was a lot of people saying a lot of different things out there about the industry. We also learned that semantic URL slugs were really important. One of the other things, I think this is pretty underrated, but like the importance of having a descriptive 5, 6 word, 7 word URL slug that says the dash best dash men's dash running shoes dash, and even if you're crazy about AEO, adding 2025 into the URL slug, all the SEOs in the audience now are just like, thinking about the redirect chain, thinking about the redirects. But it works very well. It works very well for AEO right now to add 2025 because of the way the query regularization works. Between 40 to 60% of the time, if I ask, what are the best men's running shoes? ChatGPT, the query it sends out to the actual search engine is best men's running shoes 2025. So when it adds 2025, what is it doing? It implicitly biases sources that have 2025 in the URL, in the title tag, in the meta description, and in that piece of content, which is always very interesting. It's very unexpected. We also found we were the first to break the story on listicles as well, which was really cool. So no one had really known that listicles were going to be as important in AEO as they were. I gave that presentation. 32.9% of all sources in AI search are listicles. The second most, that's the most cited type of content overall. The second most cited type of content is blog articles at 9%. So the skew was massive, huge. Yeah.
That's huge, right?
That's a huge skew. And so everyone now has been talking about listicles, and it's obviously very controversial, but yeah, I mean, I think if we're talking about it right now, listicles are still very much in. I think listicles are right around, 12 to 15%, and I think blog opinion pieces are still hanging around at 9. So it's gotten more moderate, but I think overall, still listicles have that bend towards themselves.
So now there are a lot of been reports and a lot of articles pointing out that the content freshness also matters. So does it point to what when you say 2025? So does it? I don't have 2025, but my content is fresh. Does it matter?
Yeah, it does matter. Yeah, it's a revolving door of content, especially in ChatGPT. Perplexity a little less so, but there is an erosion of citations. So we'll see someone will get cited, someone will release a piece of content, it'll get cited quite well. It'll reach peak citations usually at like 1 month, and then within 2 months it'll probably get 50% of its peak citations at peak, and then kind of level off at like 50%. And so what we know is refactoring that piece of content, continuing to add freshness signals. And when I say refactoring, I do mean don't just change the date. I've had people do that. It's awful. It
You're
does
right.
not work.
I was
It's
true.
so stressed. It makes me so stressed. Yeah, I don't love it. So genuinely refactor it, add different segments, add sections, look at what content is actually genuinely ranking. The nice thing about Profound is we can always show you what piece of content is beating you in AI search. So there will always be, if you're not number one, you will always know what you need to do to become number one in AI search for any given piece of content, for any given prompt, which is great, right? So it's relatively clear on next actions and next steps to take, the most valuable at least.
Okay. Now, so could you walk us through the concept of LMS.txt and why it might be the new robot.txt? Because the jury is still out there. It works, it doesn't
Yes.
work, bullshit, it does. So, what is your experience and take on it?
My take on it is that it's an accuracy play. I don't think it's a visibility play. I think the SEO folks are going to be sorely disappointed by LLMs.txt. And here's why. The answer engine already has to want to be viewing your content. To go to your LLMs.txt, you will already have won the game or lost the game. It is not going to be the deciding factor on whether or not you're relevant. It is going to be the thing that the LLM uses to double check to make sure it's going to talk about your products or services accurately and appropriately. It is way less relevant for companies that are CPG companies, companies that are not tech focused. The best use of LLMs.txt that I've ever seen is LLMs.txt full files. It's called LLMs-full.txt. And you use that to literally take all of your product documentation. If you're a technical tool, let's just say you take all of your documentation, and then you plug that into LLMs-full.txt and you upload that. When Cursor or Windsurf or Claude Code accesses your documentation, it will want to go to the LLMs-full.txt to just read it all in Markdown formatting rather than having to parse through your documentation website. That so far has been very synergistic. It works well, it works nicely, but you have to know that I want to go to the OpenAI documentation, for instance, or the Claude documentation, or the MongoDB documentation, or the Mintlify docs to be able to actually go and scrape that. So it's mostly for navigational queries, basically. Like that's my perspective on LLMs.txt. Is it serves well for navigational. As far as getting discovered through it, no, I don't think it's a performance channel yet.
Okay, but is it getting crawled by ChatGPT? And yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we monitor crawls across thousands of websites. It's not getting crawled massively. I think when we do see it get crawled, it's for docs and documentation most often.
Okay. And what do you think is the future? Because now overall, a lot of people keep on talking that time is coming when you're not going to optimize your website or build your website for human, but it's mainly going to be for AI agents. So what is your take on that?
Totally disagree. I totally disagree. I completely disagree. And I'll tell you what my take is. I think we're going to enter into a new world I think this is actually really, I'm bullish on websites. I think websites are going to get really cool. I see this as it's a two-tiered system. So I see this bottom tier here. This is like the super highway. This is like the bullet trains. I see this is textual information about your website. This is the LLMs.txt of the future, where your website could exist in the most boring format. It is just text. It is information. It is structured data about your website. So agents can access everything about your content and your brand and your products and your services, every feature, the price, everything that any user could ever ask for in a standardized markdown formatted way. And then on the top, now because we have all this foundational stuff that exists, we don't need to spend all of our time optimizing for, like, frankly, websites in my perspective look so samey. They're very similar. It's because we're all optimizing for machines and humans on the same interface. And SEO optimization has really forced us to kind of share this space. If we can diverge these spaces, websites can get creative, they can get artful, they can be crazy, they can be weird. I see a world where we have weird websites again. I see a world where websites don't have to necessarily on the human side be optimized. I think, I think web devs can, I think there'll always be a world where you want an optimized website, but I think web devs can be free to experiment and do things that maybe won't be the most crawlable or most accessible to answer engines. Like I was working with an architecture company a few months ago, and they had their blog, and their blog was like, they didn't have a blogs page, they had a vibes page, and they had one blog page that was just called like cheese, and it was a study of like Swiss cheese textures in like couches or something like that. I don't know, I'm just making it up for you, but like it was like whatever, it was just like random things. And they were like, why are we not ranking for answer engines? And I'm like, well, the blog post is called cheese. Like no one knows what that means in the context of like AI search or even SEO. It's not going to rank effectively, but it's actually about architecture. It's really hard to make that make sense. I think there's a world where that structured information lives in a markdown formatted way on the actual like superhighway, and the person can go to the page that says cheese and it looks like a block of cheese. And for the human, that's very compelling and exciting and weird and cool, and that gets a lot of clicks. And for the answer engine, okay, let's cut to the chase. What is this page actually about? Oh, it's about different textures that like have a bunch of holes in them, and maybe it's cool to have a couch that looks like a block of cheese. I don't know, right? But that kind of distilling of information is going to be so important for brands, because I think there is a world where, I don't think the answer engines are going to want to rely on the front end of websites to try to understand what's going on. I don't think if we're going to do business with agents and agents are going to be leading the way in the future, I think they're going to need their own way to access, even better than model context protocol, even better than just APIs. I think there's just going to need to be this structured data format that exists at the bottom of every website in the world.
So it's not the day when we're going to be making our website in Markdown language.
Yes, not yet, but I think it will. I think one day we will.
I think so. Yeah, we would have a 2 version where, just as you said, with the LLM text, this is a Markdown. If you want to go to this page, and maybe reference to that particular page.
Exactly.
I think yes.
Exactly.
But that's what these LLMs are doing right now. They are giving you most of these things in Markdown, so it clearly shows what they are favoring, because the output is coming more and more in Markdown.
It's exactly right. It's a synergy. It's totally right.
Right. Now you talked about the SERP API. So if you can talk us more about that.
Well, there was I wish I knew more about it, but I think it's just hilarious that OpenAI may potentially be using the SERP API as its search provider. There was a great piece that came out in the Information last night, in the middle of the night, and that piece was basically talking about some folks familiar over at OpenAI had confirmed that OpenAI had switched from Bing over to the SERP API. I just think that's hilarious, because that's the tool I use personally when I'm like looking at what's going on the SERPs in scale. And so I was kind of hiding under my thumb. I've been spending the last month or so trying to slightly decode where ChatGPT was pulling its results from, and it ended up being SERP API, which I just do think that's hilarious. Actually, I think it's very funny.
It's not that they are accessing Google directly, or it was rumored that yes, they are getting at Google, but the rumor was that they are getting access to Google data, and that's how the way is.
Yes, yeah, I think it's slightly different. I think it literally, it's probably some third party, especially something like a SERP. If it's not SERP API, it's someone like it.
I think, because Google not going to allow, and it's going to be a lot of mess if somebody ChatGPT does that. It's going to be a bad publicity. So they're not going to do that.
Of course,
so I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Now, yes. And now let's talk about the commercial versus informational content in AI search, because a lot of time people continues to say that, and it is true as well, that there are a lot of people are querying chat GPTs for more informational content rather than commercial as of now. I know the shift will happen. You and me might be leading the shift, while we are the first guy asking chat GPT, as you gave the example of the best men's shoes, where you don't want to like running. So those type of things are coming. Now, question is, why do you believe commercial landing pages could become the future of evergreen visibility?
Yes, this is something I said a while back. So I think this is the important thing, is that you can textualize. All right, here's how I say it. The new job for answer engines is to provide context about to provide context to the answer engines about products, brands, services. A commercial landing page should be nothing more than explaining what a product is, what it does, why it exists, and who it serves. When someone asks a question about, I don't know, let's just say, Gosh, let's do, yeah, this is a good example.
Mhm.
Purina dog food. What is this dog
Okay.
food? Like, okay, if I was at Purina, I would want to make sure that on that page, there was explicit discussions from, maybe there would be a quote from a vet, maybe there would be the exact ingredients laid out. Maybe it would specifically talk about the dog breeds that it's optimal for, the dog breeds that it's probably not optimal for, what age to feed it, just like literally a list of facts, context that the answer engines can use. Oh, okay, I'm on this page. What should I do with this page? Who should I recommend this to? Why does this matter? That at a scale that is, bigger than just one product is what it looks like is commercial landing pages across the board. And the thing that's nice about commercial landing pages, unlike listicle and blog content, is that your product
Right.
doesn't change. It's the point of reference. It's the synchronization point. So
Right.
if we're thinking about like the user journey and the way that people use ChatGPT right now, I agree. I think it's very informational. I also think those informational prompts are way more likely to convert into something commercial and do so directly on ChatGPT without, once you're in ChatGPT and you're asking about, how do I get back into running? I really love running. Where can I go running? All right, cool. I want to go to this trail. Cool. All right, what are the best men's running shoes for trail running? All right, well, there you go. You're already making those kind of information. All right, fine. Let's do like, all right, well, I want to go running as a group. Are there any stores that sell running shoes at like a bulk discount? So for me and my whole family or something like that. All those things, they slowly kind of convert into commercial in ways we don't expect. And then the user, annoyingly, because the attribution loop is broken, the user will copy paste the thing they want to buy. All right, the Nike Dunks. All right, cool. They copy paste it. They go into Google, then they buy it. And then it looks like direct traffic attribution. And no one knows that it was bought through ChatGPT. One recommendation I have for every brand that's listening, add a how did you hear about us, or where did you find us on your site, and have ChatGPT be an option. You will be surprised. We worked with companies anywhere from 3 to 10% of their inbounds and sales now are coming from ChatGPT. It's unbelievable.
100% true. We on our website page traffic, we actually have this. How did you get referred? And I would say 1 out of 10 are saying ChatGPT, and which is interesting.
It's true.
I haven't thought about adding Perplexity yet or Claude, but I think ChatGPT and it changes. Like,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, I don't know exactly how the conversion rate is yet, but I definitely can see those coming.
There was data that just came out that conversion rates like 4.4 times higher from ChatGPT than traditional search.
Wow,
Which is unbelievable. I mean, these folks are hot leads. It's warm leads, certainly coming from ChatGPT search. I mean, the reason is because they've done all the research. They know if they have arrived to you, you're the right answer. You're the right solution.
right.
I mean, it's a survivorship bias. The kind of people that are going to come to your site from ChatGPT, they're the ones who already have made up their mind. That just shows the power of that experience. Yeah, go ahead.
That's what Google wrote a book about, ZMOT, so zero moment of truth, if you remember.
Yes.
So that's what exactly is. This is ZMOT.
ZMOT.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Now, how can brands balance evergreen content with short-lived AI visibility cycles?
Oh, yes, this is a great question. I think the important thing here is to refactor content. There will always be pressure to refactor content, but I think refactoring when you have something valuable to say or when you have a genuine insight is always important. I think the most important thing you can do is look at the different topics you want to track. Think about the areas of business that you're doing and figure out, all right, if I'm Nike, if someone asks ChatGPT, what's the best running shoes? Nike just needs to show up 100%. Like Nike just needs to be there. If I'm not, I could look at any other product, right? But set up a piece of content to act as a pillar, all right, best whatever, or commercial landing pages for each thing, or a comparative listicle piece, or a blog piece, and let that live. Basically, let that live as like your sonar buoy, your tracking buoy. If that starts getting waterlogged, if it starts sinking, bail the water out of it, get the water out of it, refactor the content, make it better. But watch all of your pieces of content kind of together. See where the signals are. Are they kind of moving together? Is something struggling? What can we do to kind of calibrate? And that way it's very similar to SEO. It's still content refactoring, it's still content publishing. We still want to be publishing content. And I think right now, at least with the short-lived cycles, I think it's an unfortunate consequence of the fact that there's so much content. I think the way to really win and stay ahead of those short cycles is to be very specific. So like if you're thinking about like two spectrums, short-lived, long-lived, general and specific, you want to have long-lived content. You need it to be highly specific so that no one can kind of beat you in the information economy. I will be the only person who writes, best, I don't know, best pie crust for key lime pies for the fall. Let's just say, I don't know, and let's just say that it's a cinnamon pie crust, cinnamon graham cracker pie crust that has like notes of cardamom and like pumpkin spice. Also for my key lime pie in the fall. Let's just say, no one else is going to write that article. I'm the only person in the universe who's going to write that very specific article. And because of that, if someone ever did ask that question, my article would be the source of truth, or the single source of truth. You don't have to be that extreme, but you do have to think like that. You have to think, okay, can I just have a monopoly on the answer? Can I just own this answer? How do I completely just have the best answer on this question and just have complete ownership over that? And if you do that, you will win an AI search.
Now, are blogs still relevant, or are we shifting to a new content formats entirely?
Well, I think top of funnel is under threat for sure. I think top of funnel blog content or informational blog content is really getting smushed. I think blog content serves a different purpose. Right now, at least, blog content is great training material for AI models. I know that sounds awful, but it's true. It's really like, it's a really awful situation that I think a lot of blog writers are in right now, where creating informational blog posts tends to do two things. One, it tends to give AI better answers so that people stay in AI longer. And two, it kind of steals the click away from the brand because people don't need to go to the brand to get that answer anymore. The thing I think that has to be worked out is, if you are creating an informational blog piece, the nice thing is that you still do have a chance for a citation. So figuring out what the value of citations are and how prominently these answer engines are going to cite and show the sources they got the information from, I think are going to be really important. Because if I know that if my blog piece is used as a source, and if ChatGPT is going to say, hey, this piece of content is really great, you should read the full article to check it out, that's awesome. I would love to write blog posts and articles and get that incentive. But if ChatGPT is just going to say, I just know from some sources somewhere, I don't know, that these are the best men's running shoes, here's my information that I just found for you. Don't worry about clicking on anything or discovering anything further. That stinks. It's awful. I think right now we're in the medium. We're in a medium area right now where we have citations. We have a chance to click. I don't think many people are, but the people who are doing it are converting.
Yes. Now, so what's your take on personalization? Because in ChatGPT and LLMs, the biggest problem for a marketer is the personalization. So we both be sitting at the same place. You might be looking at the best running shoes. I might be looking at the best running shoes. So does personalization that much matter because you track so many results, or will we find different results, or it's always going to be best running shoes 2025 for both of us?
I think that it is slightly different, but I think personalization hasn't reached the point where it's really reached critical mass. So for the most part, I think those queries, the very highly personalized queries we're giving, still tend to get flattened down into the lowest version of like, I'm Navneet, I'm in New Delhi, I'm doing this, what's the best men's running shoes? I'm Josh, I'm in Brooklyn, I'm doing this, what's the best men's running shoes? As long as we're still asking in concept for best men's running shoes, no other modifiers, I think our results will be, 70 to 80% the same. In fact, would you like to do a test? Would you like to? Let's do it. Let's go to our ChatGPTs.
I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna go into my ChatGPT app.
All right. I have
just
searched.
Okay, what do you want me to search?
I just said best men's running shoes, and I'm gonna let the memories and everything, all the personalization, do its work for me.
Best men running shoes.
Yes.
Okay. And which model of ChatGPT are you using?
I used 5 Fast.
Okay.
5 Fast.
Let me just change to okay, 5 Fast best men running shoes.
Cool. Let's see.
So it says searching the web for me.
Yep. I think I had that as well.
And then it gives me, okay, I think it will be interesting if you can share your screen and I can share mine.
I am sharing my screen right now. A6 Nova
sorry, I'm just gonna add your screen. And okay. And let me just. No, it's actually, you are right. I'm gonna share my screen. Just give me one sec and let's see a window.
And this is just with memories. This is my own personal ChatGPT. This is how I use it. So it's imbued with everything that I have as well. Let's see. Let's get both of our screens on there.
Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
yes. So it's almost I think the
It's
first
almost the
shoes is
same.
yeah, it is actually the same, but it is funny. Imagine how far we are, and yep.
We should have the same running shoes. We should both have some Asics Nova Blasts.
Yeah, next time I'm in New York, we both going running wearing same shoes together. Or you are in
It would be
I'm
great.
sure.
Yeah, we should do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's actually, I mean, that to me though, that makes, I mean, that's all the information you need. I mean, that's the test, right? I mean, that's for me, that's pretty telling that those things would be that similar across the world in totally different contexts. I mean, so I think if we are, and that's if I was a human who was genuinely wanting to know that answer, I would not add a bunch of context to my prompt. I would not say, I'm Josh, I'm doing this. I would just search for it, and that's the results I would get, and you would just search in the same way. That's a really cool experiment. That was really fun.
That was definitely fun and quite revealing. And I never thought, I always thought that there is at least not personalization, but localization would be there. But I'm
Not at all, not even.
not even
Honestly.
right. So SEOs would be exciting. Their job is not that much tough when they're trying to optimize. It's actually easier than the Google.
Should be, theoretically. Yeah. I mean, with the results we just saw.
Yeah. Now, what's your take on the rise of sponsored AI queries?
Oh, I think OpenAI and I think Perplexity is doing it already. It's really interesting what they're doing. I think that we have to get to a point where we can. I think brands need like a portal. I think brands need like units that they can buy into before they can make it really clear what queries they want to purchase and buy. And I think those answer engine providers actually need to make it a little clearer on what brands would be purchasing. I think we will have sponsored queries eventually. I think we will have ads in AI search.
Right.
I don't see it happening in the next, well, the second I say I don't see it happening in the next 6 months, it'll happen. I think I would be surprised if it happens before the end of 2025. So before December 31st, 2025, I would be surprised. And then anything after, I would be much less surprised. I think it will probably definitely happen in 2026. If I had to bet, that's what I would say. That's just based on my intuition. I don't have any insider information, although I wish I did. Yeah, I think sponsored queries are going to be interesting. It'll actually depend though. I wonder if people will trust AI the same way once queries can be sponsored. I wonder how much they're going to actually do it though. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, because the way we keep on reading that these models are under pressure for burning too much money, so I think
Yes.
they would have to do some sort of monetization at some level in
Yes.
less than a year. I am totally with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now let's come to the last segment of our show, the future of agencies and AI search. Now, how should agencies explain answer engine optimization to clients who only think in terms of rankings?
I think you have to think about the value of just like the ASICs piece. If I was a searcher who genuinely needed to get running shoes, I would have copy pasted ASICS Nova Blast 5 into my Google, and I would have gone and I would have purchased those shoes. The deal now is that rather than rankings, it is about influence on the answer. People want answers from search. Search has changed from being the means to the end, where people used to go to learn about the thing they wanted to do. Search is now becoming the thing that people use to get that job done. If I want to make a marketing plan, for instance, I'm not going to ask how to make a marketing plan. I'm going to tell ChatGPT, make me a marketing plan, right? In the world of search, being the most influential, being the answer to the question isn't only just a good idea from a brand perspective, it is going to be essential to surviving as a website as well. Websites that answer questions get more citations, get more referrals. So if you're gold on referrals, you're going to want to be the answer to questions, even in a zero-click world. We just saw right now, referral traffic from ChatGPT is down double digits. It's down, our internal studies are showing between 52%, 45% to 52%. I've heard anecdotally from brands it's much worse, and in some many cases much better, which is good. I mean, I'm happy to hear basically that people are aware that these answer engines are changing and that the referral traffic is an evolving space. But it's also awful because the referral traffic's going down and it's putting pressure on brands to get clicks from anywhere else. The reason that referral traffic is down, though, is because Wikipedia is up, Reddit is up. Those top sources are up because they provide answers. So for us to win, we don't need to think about ranks. We do need to think about providing answers to these engines. It's answer engine optimization all in one.
100%. That's, I would say, the crux of the podcast.
It's answers. Yes.
Yes. Now, so coming to the report where it says that the reference from ChatGPT is down, what do you think? Is it just a blip, or is it something gonna be?
I think it's internal testing. I'm glad it's internal testing. I have to think it's internal testing. I don't think OpenAI or ChatGPT intended to do quite this. I think it's a general. I think that trend line I think it'll go up again. I think, though, that like it does highlight a very important thing about the future, which is that future websites that win and the most defensible position to be in the web is to provide answers. Like the people that are not seeing so much of a decline are people who have tons of answer content. So media publishers, brands that have tons of different content pieces, huge blogs, huge academies, huge learning documentation. Brands that don't have a lot of context about themselves, don't have a lot of answers about themselves and their products tend to struggle more, and they're seeing a real decline because someone else is kind of monopolizing on their answers. I mean, in essence, I think, if you're thinking about how to survive and thrive in this space, it does just kind of come down to being adaptable to the changes as well, and understanding that the one thing you can truly bet on is the fact that people want to find the information that they're asking for, and the tools that allow them to find that information most easily are going to be the most popular tools in the future. And the way that information is presented is probably very similar to the way that you should be writing and thinking about how to present your own information, synergizing naturally with those tools. Those are the things. Those are the organizers. Everything else is hype. Everything else you can debate me on, but we're moving forward in search, and we're moving forward right now into a new format of content and an answer-based content format.
All right. Now, some people, I see a lot of people asking ChatGPT for answers. So let's say, hypothetically, if I type best men shoes, for men, best men shoes, and then some people would go out, some entrepreneurs would go ahead and say, okay, why ChatGPT? What do you think? Why do you rank this piece? And then ChatGPT replies this, and people think, oh, this is what I should go back and do SEO. So does that even make sense? Or
I think so I should go back and do, on old pieces. Yeah, I think there is some value to refactoring old pieces of content, especially if they're top performing in either an AI search.
What I meant is, let's say when I type best men's shoes, running shoes, and it gives me a result, then I ask ChatGPT, okay, I have a product and I want to rank myself for this keyword. What should I do? And those results then get a little personalized. And does those things actually help when you are doing answer engine optimization, or it's no?
They do. It's kind of tricky, though. I think the best thing to do is to test it yourself. I think there's a lot of unclarity. There's a lot of like murkiness in the space. I think looking at ChatGPT answers, though, is not a bad idea. I tend to sometimes get inspiration about how I should structure a blog or listicle piece of content, looking at how ChatGPT presents that answer back to me. What's the best men's running shoes? How does ChatGPT talk about running shoes? All right, maybe should I talk about running shoes in the same way? It's a good idea. It might be a good source of inspiration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will AI make SEO more technical or more creative?
I think it'll make SEO more technical. But also you're going to have to be creative about solving problems, but more technical overall. We're going to have to think a little more technically about how these RAG models work, query fan out. AI models can't render JavaScript, right? We got to think technically even about our site structure. So, technical SEOs have got their work cut out for them.
Right. Yeah. To the last question of my show. If you were starting an agency service offering today, what would you focus on?
What I do, answer engine optimization. Surely I would do this. I think answer engine optimization. And if I couldn't do this, I would talk about closing the attribution gap between e-commerce and AI models. So I would spend a lot of time on e-com right now.
All right. Yeah. Josh, thank you for joining us and sharing your research, AI search, and thank you for giving your time.
Thank you. Absolutely.
And for listeners, we will link to Profound Josh LinkedIn and his talk in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep optimizing, and keep preparing for the future of search. Thank you.
Thank you so much.